And welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this. Second computer's a little bit slow. It's the 5th. Monday the 5th of February 2024. What we're looking at is a lot to talk about here. First thing I want to talk about is this new thing. I call it a thing, but it's called Apple Vision Pro. They've been working on something for a long time. They call it augmented reality. And you all know about these visors people wear that give a... they're like 3D. It's like an alternate reality, like a lot of people have them. Well, now they got something new that kind of works between the real reality that we have and the computer simulated reality, and it kind of layers reality on top of a video screen. It's called augmented reality, and it's very, very potent because instead of using the keyboard and the mouse in augmented reality, people use their fingers and their eyes. Where your eyes point, or what your eyes focus on, the camera's aware of it. So this guy's wearing this thing. Where his eyes point is he can bring up video screens that are kind of spatially in this reality, but they're not in this reality. The computer is simulating them as an overlay on regular reality. So, in other words, he could be watching a movie while he's driving down the highway here with these. And this is why he got arrested for using these while driving a Tesla. So this guy's really into the modern age. And I guess he didn't want to leave it home. Well, he could have drove his Tesla without it, but I guess he decided he wants to fully immerse himself in this modern new technology. But this augmented reality is starting out with you have to wear something. And what I want to point out is I can see a time coming not too far in the future, now that we have augmented reality, where you won't have to wear glasses or goggles or anything like that. There's a time coming. You watch. Where everybody will have augmented reality probably at some point, But this is new right now. It's really hot, augmented reality, and they'll get it down smaller. This is the first step to wear this big, kind of bulky headset. But soon they'll have it down to a normal-sized pair of eyeglasses. And then later, the next step after that it'll be in some sort of contact lenses. So you won't even see it. It won't even be eyeglasses, just be like contact lenses. And then the next step after that, it'll be some sort of a thing that it's implanted under the skin or whatever. We're moving in that direction really fast, Now, in other news, this is the main story today on my channel, is I have told you guys that whenever you go to court, you never can fully know what the outcome is going to be of a court case or going to court. It's awfully unpredictable. It can flop in any different direction. I told you guys this. So we got it says Supreme Court shocker. Here's what happens if Trump gets kicked off the ballot. Oh, I know everybody out there saying, "Oh, that's impossible, it's impossible." But listen, when you go to court, you cannot know the outcome ahead of time. Just like you can't know the future. You can't know the future of a court case. Many a man's walked into court guilty as hell and walked free. And the opposite of that is true as well. Legal scholars, national security experts, and political analysts imagine the extraordinary fallout that would ensue if Trump's kicked off the ballot. They're saying here that of the things that just might happen. It says trigger serial overlapping waves of resistance, mass far-right protests involving vigilantes, effectively repeal a live section of the Constitution, legal quagmire that could lead to electoral chaos. National divorce will gain new momentum, etc. It says there's no way the Supreme Court's going to kick Donald Trump off the ballot. Right, they say, in a question mark. The court will hear arguments this week that Trump is prohibited for running for office because he violated the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. I don't know which way this is going to go. I do know what I do know, and what I've figured out over the years is if you're going to court for anything, even a traffic ticket, you do not know which way that's going to swing. Your lawyer can tell you, oh, you're going to get off on this one and everything, but then in court they might slam the hammer down. You might have to pay a big traffic fine or something. It's just the way it is in court, you know. You can never predict the court and what they're going to rule on. That's what I wanted to say about that. Now, Tucker Carlson is in Russia. It says Kremlin is quiet as Tucker Carlson's in Russia. His visit is creating a Putin interview rumors. So there's rumors out there that he could interview Putin. It says far-right broadcaster spotted at Bushkovsky Ballet in Moscow, having reportedly arrived last week. The Kremlin has declined to say whether Vladimir Putin would grant an interview to Tucker Carlson, the far-right American journalist, after the former Fox News presenter was spotted in Moscow. So he's in Russia. Isn't that something? That's very interesting. Now, senators are going to release a $118 US billion package that pairs border policies with aid for Ukraine and Israel. Now, I was watching a show on YouTube there yesterday, I think. And some guy was on one of these electric bicycles, and he was driving down through the border. And I guess he was an American, and he was filming it for YouTube, I guess, you know. And he was right in there in the thick of this thing in Texas, where you got both sides. You've got the border patrol you got the Texas Authority in there, and you got the border patrol and everything. You got both sides. In other words, both sides were there, and he was driving his bike around and saying, "Hey, how are you today?" And everybody was friendly. And what he showed on the YouTube thing is there's no real animosity. Like they're not all lined up ready to shoot one another. It's not a civil war. They're not fighting or anything. In fact, everybody seems to be getting along pretty good, and the Texan side is still putting up their barbed wire and fence. So there's no civil war going on. Not that I can see anyway from what this guy was showing me on YouTube. I didn't see any civil war on there. And he was right in there and riding around on his bicycle from one spot to another where the fence is and everything, and where they're putting the fence in. And everybody is just kind of standing around, just like you see in this photo here. They're just kind of standing around watching the migrants on the other side of the fence or whatever, you know. And that's just what's going on. There's not anyway. But, I'm going to tell you, like I did that show the other day, there's a fracture in the, how can I put it? It's a fracture. I think I put it good enough in the show that I produced the other day. That fracture's still there. There's a growing divide. People do not think the same. And the thing about it is what you have two ginormous fractures in the world. The bigger fracture. First, we'll talk about the bigger fracture. The bigger fracture is between East and West of the whole globe. That's the bigger fracture. That's the fracture between the BRICS and NATO. And then in the United States itself, you got another fracture. And this fracture is between the two political parties. and their interpretation of law and order. And so you get fractures occurring in the world. What do fractures lead to ultimately? Well, if the divisions grow greater and greater, in the end, ultimately they lead to people fighting. It's as simple as that. Now, the United States, this is part of the greater fracture. The United States is the Houthis and the different Iran-backed militias and stuff. They've been attacking, and they've been actually killing Americans. 3 Americans have died. An attack, a lot more critically injured, and so they launched these strikes deep inside enemy territory, right? And that was supposed to deter. Well, 6 killed in the first significant attack. Now this is the other side. They're striking back, and in a U.S. launched retaliatory strike against Iran-backed militias, 6 killed in the first significant attack since then. So it's ongoing now. It's becoming more of an ongoing process. It's going to lead to more ongoing. So war works like this. It's like a tit for tat sort of thing. You know, first one side blows up a bunch of stuff, and then they get mad, and then they blow up a bunch of stuff, and then they have to blow up something bigger. And it's like the Bug Bunny cartoons. You know, they used to have this Bugs Bunny cartoon. Bugs Bunny was fighting against Yosemite Sam. So first Bugs Bunny pulled this little slingshot, and then Yosemite Sam pulled a gun, and then Bugs Bunny pulled a bigger gun, and Yosemite Sam pulled out a bigger gun yet, and then Bugs Bunny ran in with a cannon, and then they pulled out a bigger cannon, and Bugs Bunny, and it kept going back and forth, bigger and bigger and bigger, until the end there's just like a enormous tank or something. You know, I mean, they just kept upping it and escalating, and this is the way this is, slowly escalating. But here's the thing. People are tired of listening to it in the news. They get so much stuff. There's so much media out there coming at us from every different direction that a story can only be sensationalized for a few days now. People forget about it. They move on to something else. So that's what people are doing with all this war stuff. They're moving on. Meanwhile, the war's escalating. It's growing. It's growing exponentially. There's going to be a certain point in time where the war is going to draw their attention back, but not right yet, you know. And it's the same way with the financial system. It drew people's attention back when Silicon Valley Bank was going down, but not so much now. In the Israeli war, it's continuing on, as it says here from Al Jazeera. Israel's war on Gaza. 30 killed as Israel attacks and levels homes and mosques. So, not good. Now, moving in, taking a look. Now, today, the financial system, you know, I'll tell you, if this isn't it, it's coming. Well, I say, if this isn't it. Because I'm watching for it. And what it is whenever they do a rapid rate hike cycle or a tightening of the financial purse, the Federal Reserve. And that's basically what they're doing through quantitative tightening and raising interest rates rapidly. They're tightening the purse strings. There's a delayed effect for that. We haven't seen the effect yet. So what it is and what I'm waiting for is that effect. And the effect is going to be like a depression. I mean, they've stimulated a depression, and we haven't had the depression yet, or recession. They use the term recession. They hate to say depression. They hate hearing anybody say depression. But let's just call a spade a spade. They've stimulated that. They haven't had it yet. And so I'm waiting for it. And what we're seeing today with precious metals dropping, cryptocurrencies dropping, the stock market dropping, everything dropping today, except for the almighty dollar. What does that tell you? So that's what we got going on today. Silver's down to 22.21, I should say. $22.21. It's dropped 44 cents on the day so far. If we're taking a look at cryptocurrency today, we can see Bitcoin is at 42,562. It's dropped some. Ethereum is at 22.93. And how come I can't get my XRP here? Come on. Why isn't this thing moving? I lost my page. It's gone. So I'm not going to get XRP's price today. It's around 50 cents where it always is. Anyway, guys. It's kind of joke about that a little bit. Okay, Dow Jones Industrial Average today. 379 points to the downside. Now that's a big drop. But it's kind of like I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for this. And I could perceive, I'm kind of thinking it's not, I'm kind of thinking this is premature, a little bit premature yet for it to actually happen. But let's just say I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around March. Sometime in March or April. And I think we're in for a correction in the markets, and a pretty large one. Including things like gold and silver and things like cryptos and everything could actually take a bit of a hit. And then we get the Fed reaction. Because I think what would happen is if we didn't get a Fed reaction, if the Fed were to just say, let it all fall to the ground, we're not going to do nothing. If we didn't get a Fed reaction of some sort or another, more easy monetary policy is basically more of the same as what we've always seen them do. If we didn't get that, this thing would continue to fall, and there is no real bottom to any of this stuff. Because it's been pumped up for so many years on cheap and easy money or credit creation, going all the way back to the Paul Volcker era. It's been basically stimulus is driving the whole economy, and you pull that stimulus away, there is no economy. And so, we get a reaction, the thing will fall some, and then they'll step in. And how are they going to step in? They're going to lower interest rates again. And that's kind of the only thing that's back in the market right now, is the market's waiting for that. Taking a look at crude oil is at 72.17. It's down 11 cents. See, everything's going down. Everything's deflating a little bit today. So I'm thinking, is this it? Maybe. Bonds are up. We're looking at the U.S. 10-year at 4.16 and the U.S. 30-year at 4.35. Now, we still have this rather large inversion between the short end of the yield curve and the long end of the yield curve. What happens when that corrects? Think about it for a minute, guys. You take money for 1 month here, U.S. 1 month, 5.39%. And you move all the way out to the 10 years, 4.1%. What's wrong with that picture? If you're going to hold somebody's money for 10 years, you should get more interest than if you're only holding it for a month. So what's wrong with that picture? And what happens when things go back to normal again? Taking a look here at the dollar, and this is exactly what the dollar's gonna do and what it's supposed to do when you've got deflating. The economy's deflating right now. I'm not going to put it in. We haven't got deflation. There's a difference between something that's deflating and deflation. No, there's no deflation. But this is going to create a separation as well. Because this is going to be what's coming, guys, is a hyperinflationary depression. That's what's coming. That means that what's going to happen is people are going to be getting poor. They're not going to have money to spend. At the same time, prices are going to be going through the roof on everything. And because of that, we're going to get a separating here. Things that, there's a difference between wants and needs. Oh, kid walks down the street. Oh, I want that toy behind the store window. Oh, mommy, I want that toy. That's a want. He can live without that toy, right? But now, when you go to the grocery store, you have wants and needs as well. There's that cake that's sitting up on top of the counter there. It's $25, that cheesecake. Well, that's a want. You want that cake. You don't need that cake to survive. But to survive, you do need that bag of potatoes over there, or you do need that piece of meat, that piece of ground beef that you're going to use for tomorrow's lunch. That's not a want. You need that. The separating we're going to get here is between needs and wants. The things you need, the price is going to go up exorbitantly fast. Whereas the things you want, the price is not going to go up as fast on the things you want, because they're more discretionary purchases. They're more things that you can do without. You don't need them to live. The price on those things are not going to go up as quick. They know the things they got you over a barrel on, the things that you actually have to have. Things like electricity, things like food, basic food items. Things like that are going to go up astronomically fast because they know they got you over a barrel. They know you have to purchase it. They know that you can't go hungry. They know you can't go without any electricity in your house. Stuff like that, they're going to raise the price. Now, on other things like the price might even fall on some of these things, like real estate. You don't have to buy a new house. You don't have to buy a new car. Things like that, and so we're moving into a topsy-turvy world where we're heading into the front side of an inflationary depression. So, unlike the depression back in the 1930s, which was a deflationary depression. Now, how this all gets started, too, I got to talk about the trigger for a minute. Whenever you get a hyperinflationary, it's almost all the time, when you get a hyperinflationary, when things hyperinflate, when a currency hyperinflates, just preceding it, you generally get a very short duration period of deflation or disinflation that triggers the hyperinflation. That generally always happens. And so I call that deflationary spike event. I've called it that for years. I've been calling for it a deflationary spike event. Because of the whole soft landing principle and everything else that they've come along with, the deflationary spike event might not be hardly even noticeable. It might not last very long, in other words. And you might not even hardly notice when we're in it. But it's going to have signals that look something like what we're seeing right now today, where you've got the currency gaining strength. You've got everything else, like the markets falling and everything else falling, oil prices falling, precious metals falling, everything else falling, but the dollar gaining strength. That's what you look at. That could be, if it gets a little bit worse and then you get the reaction. That's your deflationary spike event. When you get that reaction on the other side of it, where they go back and they loose monetary policy to try to cure the problem that they created. And then inflation comes surging in, because inflation actually is going to be the result of the people losing confidence in the purchasing power of their currency. And that's when savers can't save any longer. That's when saving becomes stupid. Only a stupid person out there will keep their money in the bank and try to save, because the dollar's losing value too quick at a certain point. And that's when everybody starts to buy. And all these things in the financial market all work on sort of a almost like a flywheel. It takes a lot of energy to get a flywheel going, but then on the other side of that, it takes an awful lot of energy to stop it. And so all these are events. Deflation is that way. Inflation is that way. It takes a lot to get inflation started, but once it gets started, it takes a lot to stop it. And it's the same way with deflation. And where the rubber meets the road is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the one that stands in the middle and tries to balance us between inflation and deflation. And how they do that is with their almighty printing press, and by raising and lowering interest rates. So inflation was getting a little bit hot. They turned the dial up on interest rates. I didn't think they could do it. I didn't think they could get away with it, but they have. One of the reasons why I didn't think that they would do it this much is because how it would impact the national debt, the money owed on the national debt. Before this ever happened, I said they can't normalize interest rates, or the cost of our debt's going to go too high. I said, and that was my reasoning why I didn't think they would do it. They did it. But they're also having the effect of that. The national debt now, the interest on the national debt's more than defense budget. It's like over $1 trillion interest. So they did it, but it's going to cost over $1 trillion a year in to service it. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great day. Bye-bye.